record this. So I'll record this for all the woke people. No, I'm joking. No, but Josh, do you have all those? Are you admitting people or you want me to?
Yeah, let me get these next two.
Okay. All right, I think these are the students.
Thank you, Joshua. Thank you as well for all of your help.
No problem. It's good to see everyone.
Hey, Angela, how you doing? Angela Warren is in the house.
Hi.
Shayna, cool.
Shane is here.
Great. Okay, I'm going to get started in about 1 or 2 minutes. What do y'all think? Yes?
Okay. So can you make sure that we can you make it so that we can you can share our screen with you?
Yeah, you're a co-host.
Okay. All right, great.
So Jonathan, Josh, Michaela, and Nicolas. And then once Gabriel gets on, we'll make him a co-host too. Okay, I'm gonna get started. Okay. All right, I want to welcome everybody. My name is Dr. Tomas Avila Carrasco. This is a Chicano Studies conference. And again, you know, I want to just, and also talking about the connection of careers, private industry, and nonprofits. That being said, I want to open this up. I want to share my screen and shoot, sorry about that. So at Santa Barbara City College, we have a it's called the American Ethnic Studies department. And I just wanted to historically contextualize what ethnic studies is. And it's the United States, California, and Santa Barbara have a great variety of peoples of different ethnic, racial, and cultural backgrounds. All these groups make up the American mosaic. American Ethnic Studies is a critical and interdisciplinary study of race, ethnicity, and indigeneity with the focus on the experiences and perspectives of people of color within and beyond the United States. Since the emergence of American Ethnic Studies as an academic field in the late 1960s, scholars have analyzed the ways in which race and racism have been and continue to be a powerful social, cultural, and political force, and their connections to other axes of stratification, including gender, class, sexuality, and legal status. The Department of Ethnic Studies here at Santa Barbara City College was one of the first in the nation. Our department offers associate degrees in ethnic studies, Chicano studies, African American studies, and Native American studies. That being said, this conference is on Chicano studies. And in general, the reason why I wanted to create this conference was to create our own narrative. Here at Santa Barbara, could you all hear me? Yes? You hear me, Marian?
Yes.
Okay, so here at Santa Barbara City College, our American Ethnic Studies department is just, our classes are packed. We are changing lives. We are doing really, really good work here. And I have colleagues across the state and the nation, whether it's San Jose State, UCSB, Cal State Northridge, Cal State Channel Islands. And I wanted to just really give information out on what is Chicano studies, and also, the connections to our communities and the opportunities that it lends itself. So in general, again, my name is Dr. Tomas Avila Carrasco. I'm born and raised in Oxnard, California. I went to San Diego State and got a bachelor's in Chicano studies and political science. Then I went to San Francisco State and got a master's in ethnic studies. From there, I joined a comedy troupe called Chicano Secret Service. I became a performer. Then after about 15 years of that, I went back and I got a PhD in Chicano studies from the University of California at Santa Barbara. That being said, I always like to give my positionality. So my positionality is a working class Chicano that views the world from the bottom up, right? And so Chicano studies at Santa Barbara City College, I just want to state that Chicano studies is a live culture. It's a fluid culture that we're analyzing, that we're teaching right now. And at Santa Barbara City College, Chicano studies is a study of Mexicans and Latinos, and we locate the political, economic, and social experience of Chicanos in the United States. That being said, obviously we're also looking at what has been going on in Mexico simultaneously. And also I include Salvadorians, people from Honduras, Costa Rica, El Salvador, etc., Central Americans, as the class evolves. Just real quickly, I just want to state, like an example of Chicano studies at Santa Barbara City College, we get into the concept of race, right? And so race is a social construct. We're talking about the black race from Africa, the white race from Europe, the red race from the Americas, and the yellow race from Asia. That being said, in Chicano studies, we learn that race does not exist, right? Race does not exist. It's a social construct. But how do I substantiate that claim in an academic setting? By the proof that there is no such thing as a race gene. Biologically speaking, race does not exist. But most importantly, what you learn in Chicano studies is that racism does. Okay, and what is racism? Racism is a system of oppression. Racism is a system of oppression. It is when one group excludes another group from healthcare, education, capital, and housing. A perfect example of that is US slavery, undebatable, right? So I'm giving you an example of the lens and what we learn in Chicano studies at Santa Barbara City College. It's taught differently. Again, it's a live culture. So depending on your professor, you have different emphasis. I really emphasize, I pretty much do an interdisciplinary study of media studies, history, sociology, and political science. One of the frameworks that I utilize is a generational map, right? So when we start analyzing ourselves and analyzing Mexicans, Chicanos, Latinos in the United States, I'll use this generational map from 1900 to 1930, Mexican Revolution, immigrant generation, the children of the immigrant generation, 1930 to 1960, Mexican American generation, 1960 to 1980, Chicano generation, and then 1980 to the present, I argue that it collapses, and it's Chicana, Mexican American, Latino, Latina, Hispanic, Latinx, American. That being said, you can look at all of the different identities that we have: Mexican American, Chicana, Hispanic, Latino, Latinx. And what we learn in Chicano studies is that you choose your own identity. Nobody should ever tell you what you are. You could choose your own identity. So as we go into these identities in depth and in class, you ask yourselves, what am I, right? So if you look at one of the other major concepts that I teach is that Mexicans are ancient and simultaneously modern. Mexicans are not immigrants, especially in the Southwest. Mexicans are not immigrants. And how do I substantiate that claim? 1050 BC, the Uto Azteca Empire emerges, and that's where the Anastasi, the Chumash, the Apache, Comanche, Olmeca, we all emerged from the four corners. And so Mexicans are not immigrants, but obviously within the American system, we are treated as immigrants. And so it's a complicated issue, and we get into that in depth. That being said, one of the major concepts that I teach is, Chicano, Chicana is a social construct, right? So Mexican Revolution, immigrant generation, very, very Mexicano, do not know the system, speak Spanish, hardest jobs, lowest pay. The children of the immigrant generation are Mexican Americans. Mexican Americans want to assimilate, they want to be American, but they are experiencing a lot of racism, segregation, etc. The children of the Mexican American generation are Chicano, Chicana. And one of the concepts that I use to define Chicano, Chicana is 1521, intertwines our indigeneity and our Europeanness. And then 1848 intertwines our Americanness and our Mexicanness. But most importantly, Chicano, Chicana is a counter-hegemonic term. It connects us to the land, and it comes from us. And so as we speak, you could, again, you choose your own identity. But what's so exciting about this class is that I teach that identity is a construction, a process that is never completed, always in progress, right? Stuart Hall. And as you see, again, we go into the concept of being. What are you, right? And most excitingly, what are you? What do you consider yourself? Whether it's a student, Chicano, Hispanic, Latino, but most importantly, what you can become. That being said, one of the other major, one of the major concepts that we get into is identity, right? What is your identity? Simultaneously, the concept of assimilation. So again, when we get into, what is capitalism? What is socialism? What is communism? And then the dominant culture, assimilation. Can you assimilate into American society 100%, right? It's twofold, right? You could assimilate all in oneself, but the other part, does the dominant culture accept you as an equal? And that's what we get into. And then just to close off this real quick introduction, so assimilation and identity is a major concept. And then one of the other, topics just of many that we talk about is immigration, and in the United States, in Chicano studies, I teach immigration as a human rights issue. And just to give you an example of Chicano, Chicana, the lens of immigration is like when people state that the U.S. Mexican border has a lot of dogs on the U.S. Mexican border. No, I'm joking, but the U.S. Mexican border is 2,000 miles long, right? And so when people state the U.S. Mexican border is out of control, the premise is that one time it was in control. So just as we know, newsflash, the U.S. Mexican border has never been in control in regards to just what's going on right now. And immigration is a very difficult issue, but again, we teach it as a human rights issue, and that's how we take it. But most importantly, what I wanted to leave you all is that what we do know is that 30 million Mexican American Latinos live in the Southwest between LA and San Antonio. And we are dealing with a demographic revolution right now. And so again, we go over through many, many concepts, but just to help, generally speaking, this demographic revolution, right? 1980, 9 million Latinos in the United States, 1990, 22 million, 2000, 35, 2012, 50 million, and 2050, 100 million Latinos will be in the United States. So it's a phenomenon, and we're living in it. But most importantly, what Chicano Studies does in a nutshell, it gives you the tools to be able to identify systems of oppression, and most importantly, figure out how do you exist in this society, right? To give you that, like the old set, like one of the sayings in Chicano studies and ethnic studies is, the present has a past. So to understand what's going on right now, we need to study the past, right? And so that's just kind of like just a synopsis, trying to historically, contextualize Chicano studies, the topic of today's conference. And again, to pay homage to the people that laid the foundation so we can teach Chicano studies. And I just wanted to mention El Plan de Santa Barbara. Ethnic studies emerged in San Francisco State at UC Berkeley, the Third World Strike. But one of the most beautiful concepts about Chicano studies, it has a long history in Santa Barbara. So in 1969, Chicanos, Mexican Americans, Latinos got together and wrote El Plan de Santa Barbara, which was pretty much like a blueprint for Chicano studies that talked about education, research, and political consciousness 52 years ago. Teaching, research, and public servants. And I attempt anyway, to try to, teach Chicano studies in this consciousness, in this vein. So at this time, you guys, at the end, we'll have questions and comments. I'd like to introduce Dr. Joshua Ramirez, Director of the College Working for Adults at Santa Barbara City College. So take it away, Josh.
Thank you, Dr. Tomas Carrasco. I'm going to go ahead and start my screen share here as well so that you can see my presentation. I'll just get this underway, and also I will grab, let's see, I will also grab my speaker notes here for just a moment as well. Let me just pull that aside. All right, folks. So let's see, go ahead and maximize that. So good afternoon, everyone. And thank you again, Dr. Carrasco. My name is Dr. Joshua Ramirez. I am a psychology professor here at Santa Barbara City College, and I am also the project director for one of SBCC's federal grants. It's what's called the Student Ready Grant. Like some of you, I was a first generation college student. I also came from an immigrant family that worked really hard, maybe even too hard, didn't have every advantage in life, and had to work twice as hard as the next person in some cases to get through a college experience that could have been a little bit more student friendly, hence the name Student Ready. That college experience could have been a little more attuned to the needs that I had when I was growing up. I was lucky in that I found myself in the company of a small collection of good professors. They were kind and they were generous, who helped me on my path to my degree. And so of late, I have been working with Dr. Carrasco and his colleagues to develop programs and to build resources to help you on your path through your studies in the Chicano studies major, just as others have done for me. I'm also joined by my colleagues. We have our coordinator for the program, Adrian Ardijo Morgan, and we also have our Learning Resources Center Director, Dr. Vandana Gavaskar, who is joining us, as well as a handful of our tutor team here to try to talk to you about some of the resources that we want to make available to you. Maybe even to think about what your needs are as you are making this journey through your degree progress, and also maybe even trying to give you a little vision about what things might look like on the other side of transfer as well, for those of you who are thinking about continuing your studies onto the university level. So the reason why we are reaching out to you is because many of you are students in Chicano studies already, and we want to help clear a path for you to obtain your degree and also to transfer through what classes we offer through the College for Working Adults program. It's sort of a college within a college, sort of an extra layer of support to help you meet your degree progress on your way out of SBCC as well. Whether you are still just starting here at SBCC, or you are only a semester or two away from finishing, our program is designed to help you reach your degree on a timetable and with learning support that works for you. Maybe also help you provide a number of perspectives on what your life and your studies and careers might look like after SBCC. We also want to learn from you as well about how we can serve you and the community better. One of the things that Dr. Carrasco had to teach me about us being an HSI, an Hispanic Serving Institute, is that the term HSI may imply serving as an institute, but not necessarily, may serve as a recruiting instrument, but not necessarily a serving instrument for students. And that's one of the reasons why we wanted to take the funds that we had to try to see what we could do to support students. In addition to the Chicano Studies major, you might even want to pursue additional degrees as well. We've worked with our colleagues in academic counseling to offer a pathway for you to complete not only your Chicano Studies or Ethnic Studies degree, but if you feel like you wanted to go further, you might also want to see what other degrees that you can earn as well. The program offers you some pathways to also connect with degrees in Spanish and also psychology, and where you may find that some of your existing credits already apply. And if that's a conversation that you want to have, our team is standing by to help assist you with that. Regardless of what your goals are, sometimes what helps the most is being able to get the classes that you need as well. My colleagues and I work very closely with the chairs of our departments at SBCC to help reserve seats in classes that are most needed for transfer. And we also dialogue with our colleagues to try to offer classes in the evening or completely online, because we know that many of you have jobs and family obligations that just make it difficult to pursue your education. I mean, college is supposed to be hard, but it's not supposed to be insurmountable. So that's why it's also important that you have people that are here to help reduce those barriers, and that you're also taught by a collection of professors who have some understanding about what some of the challenges are that you face as well. Our program is taught by a growing coalition of willing faculty who have been trained in anti-racist practices and also have a commitment to equity, to fairness. It's a core value of their teaching. And we also know that education can be costly as well. Our coordinator, Adrian Arguijo Morgan, is here to help and has also established a lending library to help you with books and other resources to help defer some of the costs to your education. And also in having our Learning Center Resources Director, Dr. Vandana Gavaskar here, I also wanted to point out that the program is also supported by a team of equity-minded equity-trained tutors. Whether you are part-time or you're a working student, or you're a first-generation student, or a student who has returned to school for the first time in a long time, you may from time to time need to consult some tutors in order to be able to help you along the way. It's not always easy to ask for tutor support, and our tutors understand that. And we try to look at it as saying, we're not trying to fill a gap in your knowledge. We're trying to help you with what you already know and to help you find a perspective on what you are learning, and maybe even to help you realize that you know more than you might suspect when you're trying to navigate through your studies as well. This is our team of sort of tutor plus team members, our peer educator guidance and support team. You may have seen some of these PEGS tutors newsletters in your email, or maybe you've even hopped onto Instagram and you may have seen some of their Instagram takeovers of late. They are more than just tutors. They are former SBCC students or some that are close to graduation. And in some cases, like Shayna Myro, who some of you may have gone to tutoring and ethnic studies with, that she is on the other side of transfer. She is at UC Riverside, and she's also, we hope, graduate school bound as well. And we also have Natalie De Nicola, who is here as well. Just doing a shout out to our PEGS team members. Do maybe start with Shayna. Do you want to maybe introduce yourself and maybe tell something about what your experiences have been like tutoring or even working on the other side of transfer?
Hi, yes, thank you. Hi, everyone. yeah, it's been a wonderful experience tutoring for the ethnic studies department and being part of the PEGS team. I went back to school pretty late in life, and it's wonderful to be able to seek out and find those resources and then be able to share them and help others, along an incredible education path. And ethnic studies, Chicano studies has been a big part of my education. And I've going to UCR for degree in history, but I'm also now double majoring in ethnic studies. And I would like to be a teacher one day. And yes, there will definitely be graduate school. But I can incorporate ethnic studies into my high school teachings, which I believe is absolutely essential. And I learned that at SBCC. So I'm here for support for anyone who needs it. Please reach out to us. We're happy to help. Thank you.
And thank you, Shana, and everyone. It may just be useful just to get in touch with Shana so that you can get an idea about what's waiting for you on the other side of transfer, and to get firsthand knowledge about what the university experience is like, particularly as you continue in this major too. I'm going to see if I can pass the baton also to our other PECS team member. I believe she's here. Natalie, are you there?
Yes, I am. Hi there. My name is, I am part of the PEGS team, and I am a tutor for the psychology department. I really realized that having a sense of community helps with education. You can't find success alone. Well, you can, but it's a whole lot easier when you have a team supporting you. So it makes me feel really, really good to be a part of such a strong group willing to help provide that support. So, please come in and see us. We're here and we're ready to help.
And on occasion, as I understand it, Natalie, you're also hosting an art jam of sorts live on Zoom, and maybe you might even want to join her for an online art project as well. And it's also part of the experience of just connecting with the community and feeling like you belong to. And so if you would like to learn more about our program, this College for Working Adults, which is sort of a college within the college, then from the Santa Barbara City College homepage, you can search for keywords student ready. You'll find that there is a comprehensive student ready website with more information, and page for page translated into Spanish as well, accessible to you, accessible to your peers, and accessible to your family and friends who may have also had college on their minds. We haven't always done a good job of being a welcoming environment for students, but we also wanted to say that we are trying to do that, and we are trying to reach out, and we are saying that that college should be accessible for you as well. And our coordinator, Adrian Arguijo Morgan, is also standing by. You'll find that her contact information is available for you on our site, as is information about how you can make your first steps in trying to get in touch with us as well. And she has provided for you in the chat window a link both to the Student Ready website and our College for Working Adults resources, and also a folder that has an e-booklet as well with more information about the program. We hope to hear from you soon, and we're standing by when you are ready. And not with that, I will pass the baton back to Dr. Carrasco.
Great, thank you so much, Joshua. Our next speaker is going to be Marian Carrasco Nungaray, who is a counselor and coordinator of the Transfer Center at Ventura Community College. Take it away, Marian.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, oops, let me go ahead and share my screen. And I want to go, oh my goodness, here we go. Okay. Hello, everybody. Thank you for that warm welcome, Tomas. I'd like to let you know a little bit about me as I begin my presentation. I'd like to thank my brother, Tomas Carrasco, for inviting me today. We have presented at other conferences. And so when he was putting together this conference, he asked me if I could join him. And I said, sure. Are you sure? And he goes, yeah. I went, okay, I'm really happy to be here. I myself am a former transfer student. After graduating from high school, I was admitted to several University of California campuses and Cal State universities but I didn't know what I wanted to study. And that's the bottom line. I had a lot of fear about selecting a major. And so as a counselor, I always tell students that that's probably one of the biggest decisions that is it takes a process of you understanding yourself in regards to your interests, your passions, and what you want to do after you finish your degrees. And so it takes a lot of self-discovery. And I want you to know that there's lots of help for you at Santa Barbara City College. And for other students that may be on here from other community colleges, every community college, we have 116 California community colleges. All the colleges have transfer centers. Sometimes they're called university transfer centers. Sometimes they have specialized programs like Santa Barbara City College. You have fantastic programs. One of the programs that you have is the Transfer Achievement Program. The other program that you have is the Transfer Academy. So I want to encourage you to please reach out to Santa Barbara City, speak to your counselors, and they will give you a wealth of information. So I would like to begin by sharing with you this screen. It's called the big picture. You know, when I was a student, no one shared, I was first generation. I didn't know what questions to ask, and I really didn't know what the picture looked like. I knew I wanted to go on to a university, but I wish that when I was a student, someone would have showed me what does the big picture look like. So I began by showing students what you are aiming for. Most students that come to community college, they're there for a multitude of reasons. You could be at a community college trying to discover yourself in regards to your interests. Maybe if you want to acquire job skills, or maybe you want to, you know, become a better reader or get help with writing. And so there's a lot of self-discovery that's available at community college. Other options are completing a degree, earning an associate's degree. We have associate's degrees for transfer. And we also have students who just, you know, want that job skill. So they earn what we call a certificate of achievement. But most students at the California Community College, when we run surveys, we find out that out of every 10 students, about 7 students or higher, it depends on the community college you attend, want to transfer to a university. So this is the big picture. You start your university degree at the community college, and then you have to apply for admissions, and the university has to admit you so that you could attend, and then you can complete your bachelor's degree. So on this screen, there's a lot of information. We call studying at the community college, preparing at the community college, then applying for admissions, the transfer process. So from about 0 to 29 units, you're a freshman. As soon as you hit that 30 unit to 60, you're a sophomore. And I put a new term that might be new to you, and it's called lower division. So at community college, we concentrate on lower division coursework. Now, just to let you know, there are some California community colleges that do offer baccalaureate degrees. They have been approved to offer certain career technical education type of bachelor's degrees, but Santa Barbara City does not, either does our Ventura County community colleges. So once you apply to a university and gain admissions, now you're going to focus on your upper division courses, primarily your major. So I wanted you to know what that big picture looks like. So when students start at community college, it's never too early to let you know about pursuing graduate studies. Now, what does that mean? It's a new term. In order for you to apply to earn a master's degree or a doctorate degree, there are various types of doctorate degrees. You have to first complete a degree in undergraduate studies. So we commonly refer to undergraduate studies as the Bachelor's of Science or Bachelor's of Arts. So I'm just introducing to you new terms. Okay, so back to what's a major. So often students that come to community college, they might see a counselor, you might talk to your classroom faculty member, and you might talk about, you know, I do about pursuing, you know, university studies. And invariably, you might be asked, well, what are you going to study? And we commonly call that a major. So a major is an area of study that you focus on while you are completing that preparation at the community college. So when you boil it down, what is a major? It consists of a group of classes. So choosing a major is not the same as choosing a career. They're different. So what you need to understand as a student is that selecting a major is just one step in the process that might lead to a number of different careers. So most majors, just so you know, most majors do not correlate to a specific occupation. The major prepares you with a certain skill set. So let me talk to you a little bit about the types of classes that you'll take at the community college. Okay, so this is probably not new. Most of you are going to take general education classes. Now there's two types of transfer general education at the community college. The first is an acronym. It's called IGETC. It's a long hanging term, intersegmental general education transfer curriculum, but it's a pattern that will prepare you in general study and general education for all public universities in California. And we have a lot of out-of-state universities that will recognize the IGETC. Now, there are 9 undergraduate campuses in California for the UC system, the University of California. Now, our other public systems called the California State University System, and we have 23 campuses. And so if you know for sure you're going to be applying to one or the other systems, I would recommend that you work with a counselor closely and follow that pattern. Now, just to let you know, Dr. Carrasco wanted me to mention the new Area F for the CSUGE BRAF pattern. Now, we have an existing pattern that has various areas. One of the areas that houses the majority of our ethnic studies classes like Chicano studies, it's either primarily in humanities or social sciences. But beginning for fall of 2021 and beyond, the CSU has created a new Area F, specifically called Ethnic Studies. So if you are planning on transferring to a Cal State, you may want to take an Ethnic Studies class in Area F. And your catalog that will be coming out in fall of 21-22 will list the new Area F classes. Now, the other area is major prep. And so I just want to introduce to you that it's never too early to start researching the university website that you have interest in. You can look on that university website for a list of the lower division courses that you can complete at SBCC or any of the community colleges that you're at, VC, OC, or MC, or any of the 116. And I want to tell you, it's never a problem for you to ask for help. Please seek help at your transfer center, talk to your transfer counselors. And what's so fantastic is that our transfer centers at the community college, they bring in the university reps to your campus. So right now, since we're all virtual, you have an opportunity to meet with university reps virtually. They'll meet with you on the telephone or via Zoom. And so I'd also like to encourage you to take a virtual tour of whatever university that you might be thinking of. I'd like to show you what Assist looks like. Again, it's a lot of information, but on the left-hand side, this is just to show you that Assist is a repository. It's like a holding tank. It holds all of our articulation agreements for public universities in California. So I just put a little cut and paste of what the articulation agreement looks like for Chicana and Chicano studies from Santa Barbara City to UCSB. But you can go on this website and it's free, it's open for all students and counselors. When you visit with them, they'll show you on Assist what the equivalent classes are. And we will always go to the university's website to review the specific major, and then we'll give you the course equivalencies. Now, specifically for Chicano studies, Dr. Carrasco already talked to you about this major has over 50 years of existence. It was created in the height of the Chicano power movement, as well as other areas in ethnic studies, such as the Black power movement. We've created Black studies. We have women's studies. There's so many different new majors that were begun 50 years ago. So often students will ask me, well, where can I transfer? Where are some of the places I can go with a Chicano Studies major? So this is just a partial listing. Cal State Northridge has one of the largest Cal State programs in the nation. Cal State Los Angeles just celebrated a couple of years ago their 50 years anniversary of having a Chicano Studies major. And we also have a partial listing of other universities such as UC Berkeley, Davis, Los Angeles, Riverside, Santa Barbara. So there are Chicano study majors throughout California as well as nationwide. It's really important for you to find the school, university that you'd like to attend, and then seek under their academics area on their website if they offer Chicano studies majors. Now, specifically, students have asked, what kind of skills will I learn if I am a Chicano studies major? Well, just to let you know, this major is an interdisciplinary major. So what does that mean? That means that you're going to be allowed to take different classes from different areas, perhaps some electives in sociology or in economics or in history. So the skill set that you're going to acquire are strong communication skills, working with strict deadlines and writing skills, interpersonal skills. You're going to definitely learn how to research and how to cite the information that you review in papers, as well as learning how to think critically. Everyone has an opinion, but as you're transitioning to become a student, you are transitioning to be a scholar. And so that when you're in classrooms and people are speaking about opinions, you could then show them the skill set that you're learning through Chicano studies, and that is to speak with evidence, to cite the data to substantiate your claim or your argument. You'll also learn a thorough knowledge of community resources, and you'll learn an ability to interact with people from different backgrounds and various situations. So what kind of careers specifically? Students have come to me and sometimes they'll say, well, am I going to be able to get a job if I major in Chicano studies? And the answer is absolutely yes. Now, here's a partial listing of what you can do with a Chicano studies degree. Now, as a transfer student, I went from Oxnard College to UC Berkeley, and I changed my major once. I went from business administration and I switched it to sociology. But every student at the university and non-STEM majors will be asked to take about 3 classes outside of their major. And so you might have an opportunity to take classes in all of these areas, in communications and legal studies, or in community resources. There's an array of different classes at the university that you may be able to take as an elective. But specifically, if you earn your degree in Chicano studies, these are lots of different areas that you can find a job. Right now, at my present employment, I work at Ventura College. My vice president of student affairs, he majored in Chicano studies. At Oxnard College, their vice president of student services majored in Chicano studies. We have lots of people who major in Chicano studies that go on to become medical doctors or lawyers or nonprofit administrators or marriage, family, child therapists. There's an array of careers. So I'm showing you this listing just to let you know that this degree is viable. You will be employable because of the skill set that you receive. And I'd like to thank you. I'll stop my share. And I'll love to answer any questions that you have at the end of the other presenters.
Great, thank you so much, Marian. So one of the major logics of having Dr. Marian Carrasco-Negaray present is that when I was I got a degree in political science from San Diego State. And as a first generation college student, I was not aware that I was going to have to get, a master's. I really wasn't marketed. It was not, I really couldn't get a job with just a bachelor's. But most importantly, just to connect it to real life and real time. And a lot of questions within our families and our communities are, what can you do with a Chicano studies degree? And so that's why it was so important to break it down and also to let students know exactly what you're getting into. So that was definitely a working class intellectual perspective of higher education from Marianne.
The bottom line is, Tomas, I tell students, the bottom line is, yes, I wish someone would have told me, you got this. And
Yeah.
when I had fear of, am I going to get a job? I wish someone would have said, yes, you are going to get a job. Because that's the bottom line. You will get a job, and you got this. You will complete your studies.
Great, thank you. So in the spirit of the Plan de Santa Barbara and our location and history, it gives me great pleasure to introduce Dr. Micaela Diaz Sanchez, which is an assistant professor from the Chicana and Chicano Studies Department at the University of California, Santa Barbara. Welcome, Micaela.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Carrasco and Dr. Carrasco. It's so nice to see this generational lineage of, empowering students and making sure that our communities are feeling empowered in terms of this pathway, right? And so thank you so much for all of the work. Dr. Ramirez, thank you so much for all of the work that you all are doing to create healthy and very thoughtful pathways from community college to Cal States or UCs, or dare we say you leave the state. I know Californians really love to be from California and be in California. So my name is, but I want to thank you all for doing that work on the ground. That is really, really important. And I'm always incredibly thankful and empowered to teach transfer students who come from SBCC to UC Santa Barbara. So thank you so much for all of your work. My name is Micaela Diaz Sanchez. I'm an assistant professor in the Department of Chicana and Chicano Studies. Can people see my screen? Can you give me a thumbs up?
It's black.
It is?
Could you all see it?
No.
No, it's black.
Oh no. Am I for sure made now? Yes?
It's still black.
Oh no.
Okay,
Yeah, it's still black.
It's still black.
Wait, just a second. Let me.
Oh no, I did this fancy PowerPoint.
No, we got you. Okay, wait. Okay. Could you do it now? I made you a co-host.
Let me see. Now?
It says it started the screen share.
Now? Can you see it now?
No,
No,
it's
it's
still
still
blank.
black.
Okay, I'm not quite sure what is going on.
Want to email it to one of us and then we can put it on for you?
Okay.
Should I make it?
This is, sorry, I apologize.
That's right. If I make her a host,
Yeah, she'll have more access.
but will I be able to have my access still or no? I can go
Yes.
back? Huh?
Yeah, you'll have access also. I
Make her a
believe.
host?
Okay.
Could you try it now, Micaela? I made you a
Yeah,
host.
I apologize. You all.
No, this is welcome to Zoom, right?
I know, but this isn't my first time at a conference. Yes? No?
Oh.
Okay, so I guess I will email it to you and I'll walk and talk at the same time. This is really unfortunate. I wanted to talk to you all about the graduate program. Perhaps the person after me could go, and while we figure this out, would that make sense? I just don't want to take any time. And I think Dr. Centino is after me. Dr.
Yeah,
Centino, do you have a PowerPoint as well?
Nicholas,
I
you want to
don't.
go?
Okay.
I have a child.
You do have a child. Okay, so maybe we could just do a flip like that, just so we're not taking people's time. And I will email this to you.
Hey, Amanda. How's it going?
Good. So Nicholas, you want to go?
Sure.
All right, go for it.
Yeah, so I wanted to share really quickly about sort of my career pathway.
Okay, so I'm sorry, real quick. So we have Dr. Nicholas Centeno. He's from Cal State Channel Islands. They just recently created a Chicano Studies department. And so we're really excited because that's really influence on helping students from Oxnard College, Ventura College. And it's very, very difficult to create a Chicano studies department in general. So I'm sorry. So go ahead.
Yes, no worries. Yes, absolutely. And we love our transfers. We absolutely love the transfers that are coming in there from SBCC and the other local colleges, because you're sending them prepared and they're ready for our program. So kudos to all the work being done in the community colleges. I wanted to share, kind of briefly, sort of my career path. It's a little twisty-turvy or twisty-turny in terms of how I ended up at CSUCI. I had got admitted to UC Santa Barbara. I grew up in Lompoc. And I got admitted to UCSB in 1998. And so if I were applying for that same institution now, I would not have gotten in. I would not be able to get in nowadays. I would have to transfer. And so for me, being at the very, very tail end of affirmative action, and being able to take classes in Chicana studies, Black studies, and so on and so forth at UCSB really, really opened my mind. And it was something that kind of coincided with my own interests with student activism. And so I had been a participant in an event at UCSB called Raza College Day. And when I was in high school, it was a high school outreach program. And that was my first taste of college, right? They brought me from Lompoc, put me on a bus at 6 in the morning, and I spent all day in Campbell Hall and got, my first taste of what college life could be. It was very empowering. And I was really, really impressed, and really convinced me that, that college was and higher education was something that I could achieve. And so I wanted to always sort of give back in that way. So I got involved with the student organization that put on that event, and it helped organize subsequent Raza College Days thereafter. And so for me, again, I declared a Chicano Studies major. I had a declared major coming in as a history major, so I double majored. And to be honest, I went to class, and I didn't sleep through class, but I wasn't necessarily the most dedicated student. I right now as a professor, I try and encourage my students to get involved with things like NACS, the National Association of Chicano Scholars. I did not do that. I was not interested in anything academic. A lot of what I was involved in was in the streets, right? Marching and doing building occupations and trying to get the word out about these social justice issues of my day. And so I left UCSB in 2002. I did not leave with a degree. It was 4 years, and you're supposed to leave after 4 years. And so I had done my 4 years, and so I left without a degree. And I had, through my time at UCSB, developed a lot of connections, a lot of community connections that allowed me to work in sort of the nonprofit social justice sector. So right out of UCSB, I moved to Washington, D.C. to serve as a lobbyist with no degree. And so I was a student, a former student working for a National Student Association, lobbying on behalf of increased access to higher education for students. So I was working on things like the Higher Education Reauthorization Act. I was working on the DREAM Act. This was right around 2002. This is the first version of the DREAM Act, and other measures. And from there, I came on back to Santa Barbara, worked at a community center doing youth programming and doing cultural programming at La Casa de la Raza. And so this, I was really happy. I was really satisfied with working in the nonprofit sector. But, as Dr. Carazo pointed out, in our contemporary world, sometimes there's only so much that you can do with a BA. And so I was really interested in, perhaps pursuing an MA, maybe a PhD. And so I luckily, I didn't, sleep through my classes at UCSB. So I had developed good relationships with my professors there, in addition to the community people that I had worked with. And so I started, reaching out to them in terms of, well, what does it take to go to graduate school? I was a first generation student, first generation undergraduate student, and I had no idea what graduate school was or anything about that. So I really had to have a conversation with faculty mentors in terms of what that process was like and how to go about it, because I had no clue. I had absolutely no clue. I didn't know the difference between an MA or a PhD. I didn't know any of that, right? So I took about a year. To sort of look at programs, kind of get my ducks in a row. I did have to go back to I did have to go back and get my my BA. So I went to Allen Hancock College because all the classes that I had missing were my lower division classes, my lower division GEs. So I went back to Allen Hancock to finish up my BA, which I did in 2005. So I was admitted in 1998, actually got my BA in 2005. Took a year to research graduate programs and applied and was admitted in 2017. And I left, I was admitted to the UCSB Chicano Studies Master's and PhD program. Got to meet a lot of amazing individuals, Dr. Carrasco, Dr. Gomez, and then later Dr. Diaz Sanchez through that education. And so for me, 1998 to 2014 seems like a real long time. It was a real long time, but I'm very happy where I am now. I'm sort of, we talk about the plan, right? The plan de Santa Barbara. And one of the things about the plan and a bigger aspect of the Chicano movement was how are we going to give back to our communities, right? And so for me to be able to be in Oxnard, a city very similar to Lompoc, not just a stone's throw away from Santa Barbara and Lompoc, and being able to work with young people very much like myself, for me, that's a dream job. That is an absolute dream job to be able to make a living doing something that I would be volunteering to do anyway. So that was my sort of path. It took me through, again, right through the nonprofit sector, both in terms of being someone who worked on policy and worked on lobbying, very formal forms of political engagement, to also working on cultural arts and youth programming, to bringing me back to higher education and academics as a professor now. That's my story.
All right, Nicolas, thank you so much. And so Cal State Channel Islands has a BA in Chicano Studies.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead. All right, there we go, Micaelas.
There we go. And perhaps the Zoom technological bump in the road was poetic because being able to follow Dr. Centino, who is a graduate of the program that I'm going to talk about, is really important. And also Dr. Centino's book is coming out in the summer, right? Is that correct?
That is correct.
Yeah.
We're looking at late July, early August.
All right. And so again, we need to celebrate each other's successes and again, really think about these journeys and how they, all of our roads intersect. So thank you so much. So I emailed my PowerPoint to the other Dr. Carrasco. And so she's going to walk us through it. So next slide. All right, so I want to give a special thanks to Dr. Dolores Inés Casillas, who's an associate professor and chair of the graduate program of Chicana and Chicano Studies at UCSB. And so I'm going to jump a few steps ahead and focus on the graduate program at UC Santa Barbara. So could we go back for 1 second? Sorry. And I want to give a special shout out to Dr. Casillas, who I know was Dr. Centino's mentor, continues to be in many, many ways. So again, just thinking about how we are always in conversation with each other, mentoring each other. I'm going to talk to Dr. Centino about my book, which is under contract from the same press. And so, again, how these conversations are continuing to happen. And so I want to thank, but Dolores Inés Casillas, Dr. Dolores Inés Casillas shared much of the data that I'm going to share with you all. So I want to give her a special acknowledgement. And also I'd like to again thank you, Dr. Carrasco, for inviting me to be part of this conversation. So next slide, please. So I just wanted to, so this is, again, I'm sort of jumping a couple of steps ahead, and I think that that's okay, right? To think about this journey. And I think Dr. Marianne Carrasco, who talked about, right, the different steps that you have to take to even become a professor. I think that that's really important, right? I mean, I remember being an undergraduate and thinking about how much I respected my professors, but like wondering, like, how did you get there? How did you get to do what you do? How do you stand up and quite literally profess, right? And so I wanted to take some time today to talk about this very specific program. I also would like, you know, to do a land acknowledgement of the fact that many of the places that we're teaching from are on Chumash land. And so, you know, that is also part of the ideological mandate of Chicana and Chicano studies, is, as Dr. Tomas Carrasco said earlier, about, you know, critically recognizing indigeneity as part of our history. And so even I'm teaching a class called Introduction to Chicana and Chicano Studies, which with the focus on gender, that's 520 people. And at the beginning of my syllabus, before I even talk about what your grades are going to look like, we do a land acknowledgement, right? And so I think that's really, really important. So I wanted to talk about the graduate committee really briefly. Again, Dr. Ines Casillas, who's the chair of the graduate committee, Dr. Aida Hurtado, who's a co-chair of the grad committee, Dr. Dana Sanchez, who is a very recent hire, an anthropologist coming to us from UC Irvine. Dr. Sanchez also works on hemispheric indigeneities and is bringing so much to our department as we continue to grow. And also Fallon Liang, who is the graduate program assistant. So again, and I will have my information at the end of this presentation. If you have questions about what the possibility, what does it even look like? And I wanted to present this to you so as to like demystify, like, what does it mean to get a PhD? You know, what does it mean to, and again, we have incredible resources here in terms of Dr. Carrasco, Dr. Centino, Dr. Gomez, also who got his PhD at UC Santa Barbara. Next slide, please. So who are we? Chicana and Chicano Studies at UC Santa Barbara was the first Chicano Studies department, and the O is there very specifically because it was Chicano Studies when it first began. But obviously it grew out of the demands of hunger strikers, of students like yourselves who were fighting for representation in terms of the curriculum, as Dr. Centino said, marching in the streets, fighting for fair labor practices on all accounts in multiple intersecting communities. And so again, the Plan de Santa Barbara has been invoked many times already. And so again, you see Santa Barbara is a very special place in terms of the history that it sort of occupies, not in a colonial way, but that it takes in this kind of intellectual, like, genealogy, right? Like, what is the quote unquote history, herstory, queer story of Chicana, Chicano, Chicanx studies, and UC Santa Barbara clearly is an important part of that history. And again, we are a Hispanic serving institute as well, with over 26% of our population. The first graduate students were admitted into our graduate program in 2004. In 2012, we awarded the first doctoral programs, the first doctoral degrees. I hope I got this fact right. And Dr. Tomas Carrasco is from the first cohort. 26 students have graduated, and many of them have obtained tenure track academic positions. We see again, Dr. Tomas Carrasco being testament to that, Dr. Nicolas Centino at Cal State Channel Islands. Next slide, please. So this is the faculty at UC Santa Barbara. Aida Hurtado, who's not only a professor, full professor, an endowed professor as well, but is also an associate dean now in social sciences. Dr. Ralph Armbruster Sandoval. And I want to walk you through these different people, want to talk about these different people, because please reach out to us. We're just up the road. Please contact us. Our website with our emails is, we're excited to talk to students who are interested in transferring at the undergraduate level, but then also students who are interested in thinking about what it means to go to graduate school, what it means to get a master's degree, and then a doctorate. Dr. Gerardo Aldana, who's now Dean of the College of Creative Studies, Celia Herrera Rodriguez, who is the co-director of Las Maestras Center for Chicanx, Indigenous Thought, Art, and Social Practice, along with Sheri Moraga, who is now a professor of English at UC Santa Barbara. Chela Sandoval, an iconic professor of decolonial theory and feminist thought. Another recent addition to our department, Dr. San Juanita Garcia, a sociologist who comes to us from UC Riverside, where she was teaching before, who does incredible work on mixed status families. Myself, I do work on expressive culture, performance studies. I teach, I'm a musician and a performer as well, so I teach theatro classes. Dr. Dana Sanchez, who I mentioned earlier, who's an anthropologist who works on indigenous communities, transnational indigenous communities in Oaxaca and Los Angeles. Dr. Mario Garcia, sort of a legendary Chicano historian, who writes about the historiography of the Chicano movement. Dr. Eli Hernandez, who's a professor who focuses on literature. And again, Dr. Casillas, whose PhD is in American Studies, who works on media studies amongst many other fields. And again, we're all inherently interdisciplinary thinkers, which is a word that the other Dr. Carrasco brought up in terms of, right, like, what does it mean to be an interdisciplinary thinker? We're all, we're all working across different fields. Dr. Armbruster Sandoval is a sociologist, a trained sociologist, and writes about social movements hemispherically. But his most recent book is actually on the hunger strikes. It's called Starving for Justice, on the hunger strikes that, again, informed the establishment of these different departments. Next slide, please. So, so there's so many things that we study. Again, I just talked about what interdisciplinarity means. And so, we're also, to add on next year, there'll be another picture added to that slide, because Dr. Giovanni Batz, an anthropologist trained at UT Austin, will be joining us, and he works on Central American studies and indigenous communities in Guatemala. And so again, Central American Studies is sort of growing in our department. Chicana feminisms, I always kind of joke that you can also get a PhD in Chicana feminist theory, because we have incredible scholars there, Aida Hurtado, Chela Sandoval, now we have Sheri Moraga, Eli Hernandez, there's so many people there. Chicano literature, Chicana queer and trans studies, performance studies, media and popular culture, decolonial theories, which again, Dr. Sandoval is focused on, immigration and mental health, which Dr. San Juanita Garcia has been focusing on. She initiated a really important program with AltaMed in Los Angeles, partnering with undergrads at UC Santa Barbara. So is doing incredible work in thinking about immigrant communities and mental health, which is something that we don't often talk about, right? Mental health, especially during these times of the pandemic. Social identity, intersectionality, migration, and indigenous communities. Dr. Aldana is a scholar of hieroglyphic history, oral histories, again, transnational indigenous communities, and of course the US-Mexico border. So there are so many different ideas represented by these terms, right? By these fields of study. And again, Dr. Centino talked about, right, like how he didn't know he was gonna study, and then, right, sort of opened up to the idea of talking about popular culture and expressive culture, right, which his book is about, and I'm excited to read it. So next slide, please. So UCSB is number 6 in terms of as a public national university. Again, we're the first doctorate in Chicana and Chicano studies. Our applications were due last December 15th. I'm assuming there will be due around the same time. December 15th is sort of a standard due date for many graduate programs. And again, as a HSI, 29% of our students are Chicana, Chicano, or Latina, Latino, Latinx. And so again, many of our graduates are first generation college students at the undergraduate level and at the graduate level. And again, just thinking about all of these different fields, it can be overwhelming to think about all of these different fields, but also I think incredibly exciting, because you can go to college or graduate school and think like, I'm going to study this. This is going to be my project. And then you might take an anthropology class that blows your mind, or a music class that blows your mind, or an art history class that blows your mind. And it just opens up a whole world of possibility. And so our students study sociology, feminist studies, political science, religious studies, history, theater and performance studies, food studies. I mean, so many different fields, queer studies, LGBTQ studies, trans studies. There's so many fields that, that facilitate and this is all within the field of Chicana and Chicano studies. So really just a testament to how interdisciplinary we are. And many of our students are from California, because I know, again, many of the folks, I mean, if you're born and raised here, of course, I'd want to stay here. I was born in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I grew up in San Antonio, and I've lived all over the country. But of course, living in Southern California, I understand why you would not want to leave. But we have students from the Midwest. We also have students from Mexico in our graduate program. Next slide, please. Thank you. And so again, just thinking about like Chicanidad or even Latinidad, I would even expand it to think about it in the broadest sense. And again, just thinking about interdisciplinarity, many of our professors are trained in traditional disciplines, but many of us are inspired, propelled, invested in interdisciplinary methodologies. And what does that mean? It means that we think about critical research questions, and we think, I have this question, how can I answer it? Is it only through archival research, or is it through oral history? Is it through interviews? Is it through going into these communities? Is it through learning an instrument, right? Like I write about son jarocho, and I thought, well, I can't write about son jarocho unless I learn how to play a jarana and learn how to dance, right? And so an embodied point of entry is my methodology, right? In terms of how I want to do the work that I do. And clearly thinking about intersectional ways of understanding ourselves, our communities via race, gender, sexuality, nationality, and class, right? This is always an important way to think about how we understand how we are in the world, right? Next slide, please. So again, Dr. Carrasco, Marian Carrasco talked about different career possibilities. And in terms of a PhD in Chicana and Chicano studies, that yes, many of us aspire to be professors at the community college level. We see Dr. Tomas Carrasco, who's not only a professor there, but chair of a whole department, which is incredibly impressive. And I'm thankful for the work that he does there. Community colleges, private universities, state and public universities, right? There's many different possibilities, different routes. Dr. Centino talked about how, teaching at Cal State Channel Islands, sort of down the road from where he grew up, was really important to him. So there's lots of possibilities. Students work in public health, people do advising, academic advising and education, as we've seen in the case of the other Dr. Carrasco. Some students want to go to law school, and we obviously support that. Social work and community organizing, right? I mean, our department, our field, the field of Chicana and Chicano studies is rooted in social justice and community organizing. And so obviously that becomes, and not that any of these fields are mutually exclusive, they're all connected to each other, right? So many professors are obviously continuing to do community organizing. Many graduates are doing public health and social work and academic advising and law, right? These are all sorts of, I wish this could be mapped differently so that they're sort of intersecting arrows, right? Next slide. So again, I want to thank everybody. Again, I want to thank Professor Casillas for giving me for sharing the data, the sort of raw data. Also, Dr. Tomas Carrasco for the invitation, Dr. Joshua Ramirez for helping to sort of organize us. Next slide. This is the final slide. So this is my email address. Please contact me if you have any questions. Again, apologize for that technological bump in the road, but we got through it. And again, perhaps it was poetic because I got to follow Dr. Centino. So thank you so much. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you so much, Micaela. I really appreciate all the information. And again, you know, one of the major concepts that I teach is to historically contextualize what we're talking about. So again, in these days of this pandemic and these days of just intense situations that we thought we would never have to live through, Chicana studies is thriving throughout California. And that was one of my major concepts and reasons why I wanted to put this together. And again, to think that in 1968, 91% of all college students were white. And so I really want to lay the foundation and pay homage to the Plan de Santa Barbara, to the people that fought, you know, at the Third World Strike at San Francisco State, UC Berkeley, that laid the foundations for us to exist the way we exist in academia. And with that in mind, again, I want to introduce our next speaker, who just became a Ford postdoctoral fellow, 2021 and 2022. Went to UCSB, got his PhD in sociology, emphasis in Black studies. He's an assistant professor at San Jose State in Chicano studies. Let's give a round of applause to Dr. Jonathan Gomez. Marion, could you do his PowerPoint? Do you have it, Jonathan?
Yeah, you know, I couldn't share my screen. But I did email to Marion. Thank you so much.
I did get it, but I don't have, Tomas is gonna have to open it because it's in, let's see if I can get it. Hold on. Oh yeah, I don't have a passcode.
You know, it's fine. I think, you know, I've been having trouble sharing my screen. And so I don't want to waste any time. And I just want to, you know, build on, you know, this wonderful line of thought and heart that everyone has been sharing. You know, for the speakers that have went before me, you know, thank you so much. And of course, you know, thank you to Dr. Carrasco and to Dr. Ramirez for organizing, you know, this event and for inviting me to be here. And of course, you know, everyone who is here and made time to, you know, come together, you know, via Zoom to congregate and to listen and learn from one another, you know, so thank you for being here. You know, I want to just say that, you know, the speakers who have went, you know, so far, you know, for the students here and community members, I wouldn't be here, you know, as a professor at San Jose State if it wasn't for, you know, the time and effort that Dr. Carrasco, you know, put into making sure that when I arrived as a graduate student to UC Santa Barbara, that I had a community, right? And to the other Dr. Carrasco Nungaray, you know, whenever I was, you know, invited to family functions, right? You know, your advice and the way that you provided a space to, you know, for me to share with you my ideas about what I was studying and where I wanted to go next, you know, made a huge impact on me. And so the same goes with Dr. Nicolas Centino, invited me into a community of people in Santa Barbara that were dedicated to, you know, providing a space for men, right? And we would meet at the Casa de la Raza and engage in conversations that were so important and crucial to providing me with the kind of heart that I needed to move forward. And of course, when I was leaving, Dr. Micaela Diaz Sanchez was arriving, and just another, you know, inspiring, you know, person who offered their time and opened their door to me. So I wouldn't be where I'm at without this community. And I think that, this is very much, indicative of what, Chicana Chicano studies is about, right? Creating these learning communities that empower one another. And, as for myself, right, I was recruited out of high school by my educational opportunities and programs. They later became my counselors, right? But, from EOP at East LA College, those were the folks that attended my high school and, asked me, where I was going to go to college. And during that time, I had no idea. There was nothing in my mind that was telling me to go to college, right? I got placed on a track where, maybe some of you have heard this before, right? This program, I know it exists and it's gotten better over time. But when I was in ninth grade, I was part of an AVID program. And unfortunately, I didn't have the resources or the space to, be a student. And so in that regard, after my ninth grade year, I was asked to leave the program. And, my counselor, Mr. Castillo, told me, Jonathan, you're not college material. And, and that was devastating for me, right? And so I kind of, went along with the program. We call this tracking, right? I got placed in metal shop. I didn't do well in metal shop. So then they put me in auto shop, didn't do well there. So they kind of moved me along. And throughout that experience, I kind of just floundered, I graduated, but I had no vision, right? No one was there to provide me with a vision about, where to go next or what did it mean even to, earn an education, right? But in that mix, I owe a lot to my family because, in spite of that, they always, let me know that I mattered and that I was going to become something someday, right? And so when that EOP counselor asked me where I was going to go, I was ready to accept their open hand and to meet with them the following week at East LA College, where, my life was turned around. So many of my professors there provided me with new frames of thought, right? New ways of thinking and seeing and being in the world that was just so empowering to me, right? At East LA College, I learned how to systematically study, right? I learned how to read and write critically because I didn't have those skills when I arrived, right? They introduced me to programs that I would later learn, were fought for and won by people in my community, right? Chicanas and Chicanos who were invested in the struggle for education and a livable destiny for working class Chicanos like myself growing up in East LA. And so I got a book grant, I got a bus grant, I had one-on-one academic counseling with my EOP mentors and counselors. And it was so transformational, right? And with my EOP counselor, I met with him and we applied to, so many universities. And I ended up choosing UC Santa Cruz, right? And there, right, was just another phenomenal experience. And as Dr. Carrasco mentioned, right, I was just awarded a postdoctoral fellowship, and I'm going to be returning to Santa Cruz for the fellowship and studying with the very mentors who opened up doors for me when I arrived as an undergraduate. So it's just this really empowering feeling. And I have to say, right, they are Chicana feminists, right? They are Chicana scholars who, always went above and beyond to provide me with the resources to become, the scholar that I am today, and after UC Santa Cruz, I applied and got into UC Santa Barbara and, learned so much from so many people in the Santa Barbara community. I see Melinda there, Gandara, just really marvelous people that allowed me to become my best self in this world, And so, with that, right, I arrived here at San Jose State, and I'm the kind of professor that, is ready, willing, and able to provide my students with the kinds of opportunities that were provided to me. I am someone dedicated to making sure that the doors of educational opportunity stay open. And even I try to even make them wider so that those who come after will continue to have opportunities and resources the way that I was provided by those who came before me. And so, in that mix, right, like we definitely pursue education to earn academic degrees, right, that allow us to obtain the kinds of jobs that we want, right? Absolutely, right? That's an important part of why we attend a university, right? But within that, Chicano studies allows us to also develop degrees of commitment to our communities, right? Degrees of learning collectively and collaboratively, to give ourselves degrees of confidence, right? Because we can't engage in the transformative action that the folks before me talked about, right? We can't change the world or confront, for instance, white supremacy and various forms of hierarchy and exploitation that we see today if we're not confident, right? And so Chicano studies isn't about telling you what to think or how to be in the world, right? Rather, it provides us with tools for you to become a critical thinker, right? A creative writer, a persuasive speaker, and someone who is ready and has the capacity to get things done that you believe need to be done in this world, right? Whether it's in your education, in your community, in your family, right? Becoming, an upstander for peace and social justice in our society, right? And in this way, while we want to, social mobility, why we want it, right? For myself, that was extremely important to, make sure that I would not be impoverished anymore, that my family would have the money and different things that they needed to pay bills and things of that sort, because that was a reality, right? So social mobility is definitely a part of it, right? But when we develop these degrees of commitment to our community, social mobility doesn't come at the expense of social justice, right? And so, this is not easy work, right? To do the systematic study, the kinds of critical thinking and writing that I mentioned earlier, right? But in CCS, right, across the different campuses that you've been learning from and hearing about today, you will find, or you will be in a position to create a learning community that empowers you to become who you want to become in this world, right? And, if you're anything like me, you might be thinking, well, geez, like, what do I know to engage in this process, right? What about people that come from my community, and, what right do we have to be in the places that these professors are speaking about today, right? And, something that I draw on from, a poet named Kalamu Yasalam, he says, we start with what we know to learn what we want to know. And we start with, from where we're at to go where we want to go, right? And so, you have what it takes. I think the people here, are an example of a network of people who are waiting for you, right? We are looking for people like you, and you're looking for people like us. And here we are creating this bridge. And so I encourage you to reach out to us, right? I encourage you to draw on the different things that inspire you here to move along in this path that you're currently on, right? And I think that, again, I just want to reiterate, that I'm so thankful that I'm in the company of people that care so much about others, right? And that, at one point and continuing, right, choose to bring me along and to invite me to walk with you. And so, thank you, Dr. Carrasco. Thank you to all the panelists and for the community that's here. I appreciate you so much. And I look forward to engaging you with the question and answer period. So thank you very much.
Thank you. So that was Dr. Jonathan Gomez from San Jose State. So again, I want to really reiterate in regards to Chicano studies as a discipline. We have theories, we have concepts, we have a canon. And most importantly, I wanted to really emphasize in the late 80s, Marion and me, we were at UC Berkeley, and I just really want to pay homage to, I always state that Chicano feminists took Chicano studies to the next level. And literally our professors were Shireen Moraga, A Bridge Called My Back, Ana Castillo. I also was at San Francisco State, with Angela Davis was my professor. And so that just took it to the next level in regards to intertwining race, class, and gender. So props to Chicano feminism. And also really, y'all, all the students that are on, you have a lot of resources right now on this page. So, take those names down and really, like Micaela, like we have a lot of students going from Santa Barbara City College to UCSB, right? And so, talk about an educational pipeline. I live, right? There's a reason why Cal State Channel Islands is here. We also have students that have gone from my department to Cal State Channel Islands. Northridge, amazing, right? So again, I want to reemphasize the philosophies of Chicano studies. And one of the philosophies is to get your education, but go back to your community and get other people into higher education for empowerment. And with that being said, our next speaker is from Cal State Northridge, Dr. Gabriel Gutierrez, who is a historian and professor of Chicano studies. Gabriel.
Thank you very much. Let me start first by congratulating you, Dr. Tomas Carrasco, on what you're building there at Santa Barbara City College. I mean, this is amazing. The fact that you're what you're doing here, I know most of the audience here is from Santa Barbara City College, but really what you're doing here has implications statewide for what we all hope to be building. So thank you for the invitation, and again, congratulations on the amazing work that you're doing through this panel, but also through other work that you've done, and sort of on top of all the other great stuff that you've done, right? And the other ways that we've known each other in the past years. So I want to thank you very much. It's a great honor to be here as part of this panel. And a little bit about myself. I'm currently the chair and professor of the Department of Chicana Studies at Cal State Northridge. We have 25 full-time faculty, 35 part-time faculty, so total of about 70 faculty or so. We offer anywhere between 165 to 180 sections per semester. So we're a really large department. We're very lucky really to have what we have. And so I also wanted to mention the connection to Santa Barbara. I went to UC Santa Barbara. I, as a freshman, got kicked out or was subject to disqualification, right? I had to appeal to come back in. Luckily, I guess they liked my letter to come back in. So I stayed, and then it took me 5 years to graduate. Didn't really know what I wanted to do, but had the good fortune of having a very good friend by the name of Jeffrey Garcilaso, who also went through the PhD program in history, who convinced me to apply for the history program. So I ended up getting my MA and PhD there as well. And so on another note, I noticed there were references to the hunger strikes. I actually was also one of the hunger strikers in the 1989 ethnic studies hunger strike that brought an ethnic studies requirement to UC Santa Barbara. And so the cool thing about that, I think, is that there's you never stop the fight. We're currently fighting. We just won a major victory actually with AB 1460, the ethnic studies requirement at the Cal State University system, which came actually as a result of us fighting back against them trying to take away our Section F on our campus through Executive Orders 1100 and Executive Order 1110. Right, so we're still engaged. We're still, very much a part of this process. And what we like to do is we like to think that in our department we're actually horizontally organized, right? In terms of we have chairs and we have other coordinators of committees and different things, but we are always in consultation with each other. So we're able to work collaboratively on a variety of different projects, right? And I actually, I have a couple of videos. I'm probably going to show one if we're able to upload it. And it kind of speaks to some of the questions that we have or that we've had recently about folks from STEM majors who started gravitating to Chicana studies and saying, you know what, I don't like the culture there. Whatever's happening, it's not for me. And so what we try to do is we try to build a support system to try to encourage them to actually stay in their majors, right? We even went to the extent of having conversations with the dean of the College of Science and Math and his team, right? And it was, you know, the way things are, sometimes things can get a little contentious, and we had to kind of tell them, look, man, we're not here to yell at each other. We're here to work with each other in order to make sure that our students are getting through. And if it requires pedagogical, you know, shifts and changes, then we have to have that conversation or those conversations, right? So among the different things, you know, we do have different facilities on our campus. We have a Chicana Studies department social media lab that we started 5 years ago, that we're able to do different types of production, social media, multimedia productions, right? And so one of our partnerships is with a group called Connect the Pod. If you get a chance to take a look at them, they're on Facebook and on social media. And they're an organization that was founded by one of our alums who trains elementary school students to do podcasting. And it's everything from the conceptualization to the actual technical production and then post-production. So they do the whole thing, and it's a wonderful experience. We've actually worked with them with one of our classes where our students then go in and intern, and then they provide service learning and they work with that organization, right? We've also worked with different community organizations such as Padres Pioneros, which is based in the San Fernando Valley, that is involved in a variety of different programs with our faculty and students that include, among other things, literacy programs where children and parents learn to read together, pretty much. And there's actually a really interesting twist to that, where quality of life issues and really demands for food sovereignty and potable water and all these things have shifted that type of a literacy program into reading on that subject matter, right? And then engaging in a variety of different types of projects like that. We also have faculty who are very much interested in land use. And as a result of that, we developed a partnership and a memorandum of understanding with the U.S. Forest Service, which is really interesting because on the one hand, it helps to not only diversify and include, but hopefully transform these type of agencies, right?
My apologies. I couldn't hear what you said.
I'm sorry, I didn't turn my watch off. Siri's paying attention, or whoever that was. But anyway, so what we did is we developed this pretty cool program where our students actually intern at different levels with the Forest Service, and then in some cases that's turned into employment opportunities and whatnot. And so a lot of what we're doing is we're creating, or we're trying to create these pathways where folks will become part of these larger networks that are out, that we're partnering with. So with that in mind, I wanted to see if I could possibly show this video. Let me see if I could share screen.
Yes, it's working. Yeah, go for it.
All right, let me actually come over here. Yeah, I don't know why those abolish ICE shirts are there. And they're part of a project that we're working on, but that's not part of the video. Let me see if I can.
When I took Professor Dr. Furumoto's class in the fall of 2015, she had us do an assignment where we interviewed the parents from Padres Pioneros. And so those interviews, each of us had a different topic, but it was all related to the environment or to environmental justice or to funds of knowledge, essentially. There was a huge connection with the environment, and I thought that the Forest Service should partner with this organization at some capacity. So when we did come to this meeting, I brought my supervisor, Trini Juarez, and also Dr. Emmeline Sheffield from CSU Chico, because she already had a fully functioning field school program. So the first thing we did together was go and visit a field school. So I took Professor Velasquez, Professor Purumoto, and Professor Gutierrez. And from there, we drove up to Red Bluff, which was an hour north of Chico, where we camped for the night with the students. And we were able to see what a field school is and how it operates. So that field school was important because it took place on National Public Lands Day in 2016. We were able to see Latinas in Action, which is an organization at Chico State doing Every Kid in a Park programming. And so at the same time that Latinas in Action were doing their programming with the youth, there was other field school students that were doing work and maintenance on the recreation site in Red Bluff. So they were rebuilding the boardwalk, they were planting sprinklers, they were doing restorative work to this campsite. Did 2 field schools. We took 5 students up to the Presidio in San Francisco with Professor Purumoto. Of those 5 students, I would say 4 of them had never left Los Angeles. So that was their first time leaving LA and getting to camp. For some of the students, it was their first time camping as well. And then we did our second field school, which was up to Big Sur, which I did with Professor Velasquez and 5 more students. But in the fall of 2016, that was also the same time that I was enrolled in Professor Reese's class in the Environmental Justice for Chicano Studies. And in that same time, we were also doing the tree planting event. So we assisted with the tree planting at Vaughn G3 Elementary in Pacoima.
De un gran país, olvidaron construir un hogar donde no queme el sol y al nacer no haya que morir. Y en la sombra mueren genios sin saber de su magia concedida sin pedirlo mucho tiempo antes de nacer.
It's interesting how there's this, it's almost like a synergy between these different elements, right? So like with Parent Pioneers, I've worked with them for 22 years. Their focus is how do we engage families and children in looking at environmental issues and in particular in environmental STEAM, right? So science, technology, engineering, and math, art and math. And how do we, I think the key thing that's been important with the involvement of the mothers and the grandmothers is that they bring, as Marisa had said, they bring this traditional knowledge, they bring awareness of water conservation, of energy conservation, of growing food, and this respect for the land. So they bring that to the table. And then now they're trying to figure out, how do we get our children to care about the environment and to want to become scientists, artists, and humanities folks that are going to address the environment, right, and take care of it. What we see is that we're starting this little pipeline with the younger ones, but it's very fragmented right now. And obviously it's not as big as it could be, but we know there's a lot of interest in the community. We're also doing tree planting and getting budget to do that. We recently planted 56 trees at San Fernando Elementary School. So we're also engaged in a lot of things. We're actively now working on plastic pollution, developing curriculum, and we're going to be doing a research study on the use of plastic pollution in the city of San Fernando.
Important contributions that a lot of these internships and Generation Green in general has provided, not just for me, but a lot of the students that we're serving, is that it really not only opens our eyes, but it really gives us like a tangible possibility of potentially both imagining ourselves and, you know, the real possibility of actually working in a lot of these different federal agencies.
One of the key things that this has a lot of potential to do is that it's able to connect communities from the students themselves to transfer that knowledge, that community knowledge, onto this agency. So bringing on people that have that critical thinking capacity, that Chicano studies knowledge into the agency, we're able to put into practice it into the field through public engagement, public interactions, and also shifting that culture. We see that it's already happening, where I was introduced to this position and automatically I was like, how do we get Generation Green in Huntington Park High School? And then we have students from Capoma Beautiful that have asked for the Forest Service to be a part of their homecoming. So now that's reaching to a whole other population that didn't get exposure to the agency before. So it's understanding that with these types of transformative spaces, we're able to see that students themselves can be the resources to that change.
La banda rebelde, en la banda rebelde que cantaré porque somos chicanos, porque somos chicanos de East LA.
Okay, you want to wind it up or unmute yourself? Could you unmute yourself?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was trying to shut it down. Thank you.
It's okay.
Yeah, so that is like one of the trajectories that we've developed over the last 5 or 6 years. And as I said, there are different trajectories that faculty are involved in that include similar types of projects that, among other things, are in the direction of social media and other interests. So yeah. Thank you very much. I didn't want to. I know that you have a Q&A time allotment, so I'll go ahead and end there, and then maybe people have.
Thank you so much, and just to all the students, we had talked earlier about Chicanos and Chicanas being ancient and simultaneously modern, and connecting Chicano studies to the community. And Dr. Gabriel Gutierrez just literally gave us a performance of that through his students and what they're doing with trees. Thank you so much. At this time, any of your students have any questions, or any of the participants have any questions, just start speaking or raise your hand if you guys want to use the hand. Any questions, comments? Any co-hosts see any questions or comments?
Well, I want to thank Dr. Gutierrez. Thank you so much for sharing that. And thank you so much for the legacy of your activism at UC Santa Barbara. But again, you know, the video that you shared, a real testament to the intersectional ways that Chicana and Chicano studies can operate with regard to environmental, you know, to environmental sciences and thus, you know, really making interventions in environmental racist practices. So again, a testament to like the ways in which Chicana and Chicano studies is truly intersectional, even when it comes to right STEM, or as my sister says, STEAM, because then you can add art in there, right? And I'm sure many of you might know that term, right? And so
Definitely. Thank you so much, Michaela. Yeah, good job. And just so all you students know, you know, UCSB, Chicano Studies, Cal State Northridge, you know, Cal State Channel, these are powerhouses. These are like amazing programs with BAs, masters that are just top notch, you know, worldwide. So any questions from any students? We know we gave you a lot of information, but
I have a comment.
sure.
Hi. I just want to thank everyone, all the presenters. My name's Susan Carrasco. I'm at Oxnard Community College in counseling, and gosh, thank you so much, everyone who presented and all of you who have paved the way. My brother and sister, Tomas, Dr. Carrasco, and Marian, Dr. Carrasco as well. I just received my email. I got accepted to Cal State Northridge. I'll be starting my master's program at Cal State Northridge. Nice to meet you, Gabriel. So, thanks so much.
Awesome. Congratulations. Looking
We're
forward to
happy.
working with you. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, my mom made menudo for everybody because she got accepted with extra pata. I'm joking.
Tomas, I have a comment, Tomas.
Sure, go for it. Froze. Oh, Pablo, you want to go?
Yeah.
So I just want to encourage. Go ahead.
Oh, I just want to say thank you, and all my City College professors are here, and also my CI professors. I'm actually looking at where to apply for graduate school, so definitely helped hearing from UCSB and from CSUN, which are definitely big houses that I'm looking to apply to. Hopefully in December, when the application in 2022 opens up, and I'll be looking forward to be hopefully working alongside you, everyone here. So thank you.
You're muted, Tomas. And so my comment, the comment I wanted to share with students is, you know, we are at a point in time where we've shifted. You know, the word I love to use is pivot. We learn how to pivot from on ground to online to now, you know, depending upon the tiers, whatever orange or green or whatever tier we're going to be going into next, we're pivoting. And so that's how I would like to you to view your life as a student. You pivot when the worst thing that could ever happen to you is that you study alone. If you find yourself just, you know, alone, that's when I want you to encourage you to reach out, find a study buddy in your class, talk to, you know, speak to your professors, let them know what's going on, because I want you to know that education should be a community. You should never feel alone. You should always feel that you could reach out to your professor, reach out to your counselors. I have students who are reaching out to me now, and many of them are getting their acceptance letters. Others are anxiously, you know, still waiting for some UCs. And I tell them, you're in a win-win situation. And what I really want you to know, it's about mindset. You know, as humans, we have a tendency to feel alone or think of the negative. I have to constantly work with my students to reframe their mindset. And I had the student who says, you know, I've been admitted to everywhere I applied, all 4 universities, and I'm still waiting on 2 more. And as soon as I said, okay, hold a minute, mindset. It's a good situation. You don't have a problem. It's not where, it's not if you're going to a university, it's where. And as soon as I slowed up the roll and I said, calm down. I go, let's go over this one by one. And then having to go on their portals, let's look at your financial aid and let's talk about some options. Think about your opportunities. The student went from to being so anxious to just, relaxing and understanding that they have time to submit their statement of intent to register. That comes for some Cal States May 1, others for UC's June 1. So I just want to leave you with the idea that you're not alone. There's lots of people, we care. That's why we are in education, wanting to make a difference. There's so many different types of
You froze, Marianne.
And I truly tell students, okay, when I don't know something, I tell students, I will tell the student, good question. Let me find the answer. Because as a counselor, we don't know all the answers. As professors, they will refer you to the resources. And I just want to leave you with the idea that there's lots of people who care and want to help you. So reach out to us.
Thank you so much, Marianne. Hugo, you have a comment or question?
Oh, yes, I do. Hi, everyone. Thank you for Ms. Carrasco, Susan, for inviting me to the Chicano Studies conference. This is great information. For the students that are going on to the universities, transferring or going to graduate school or your PhD, échale ganas. Don't give up. I'll give you the words of wisdom that my mom and dad told me once. Si vas a ir a la escuela, pon atención y aprenda algo. If you're going to go to school, pay attention and learn something. Do something. For the I can't remember if he's a professor or student that said about ADVET and EOP. I wish I had ADVET, but I went to Oxnard College. At Oxnard College, I was enrolled at the EOPS program. In community college, it's EOPS. And Miss Miriam Carrasco, she was an EOPS counselor at one point at Oxnard College, and she helped me out a lot with Gloria and Jose Vega. I'll say this. When I went to Cal State Northridge, I'm a Matador, they helped me to apply for scholarships, and I got accepted to CSUN. When I graduated from Oxnard College and went into CSUN, I remember I went with almost close to $6,000 in scholarships, and that was about for a full semester. But then, you figure it out. You find like a little job on campus and you work. Also, students, get yourself involved in certain organizations. I was a mechista myself. I was a mecha at CSUN. I love CSUN. I saw Professor Gabriel Gutierrez, like, oh, I remember Professor Gutierrez from back in the days. I'm class of 2006. I had Mary Pardo, Professor Furimoto, Professor Cifuentes, rest in peace, Professor Cifuentes, Jorge. I learned a lot. I'm a sociology major, but I remember taking my courses in Chicano studies because that will count. Now I'm happy. I work in South Oxnard. I work at Harrington School, where the Carrasco family grew up. And I'll tell you, you see a lot of things, social justice, a lot of issues. I try to help out our community. It's, but I know now if you're going to go to Cal State Channel, I know that CSU Channel has a great a great Chicano Studies program. I don't know if they have a master's program already at Cal State Channel Islands. So
great. Thank you so much, Hugo. I really appreciate your words. One of the things I wanted to leave with the students, and so this is for you, Pablo, and all of the students. I didn't have access to this, but if you're thinking about graduate work, what they have now, they have a Juris to Doctorate / PhD. If that's pretty much a law degree and a PhD, and if they would have had that when I was applying to my PhD, I would have done that. It's just a thought, where you get a law degree and a PhD. So this has been an amazing information. Any other questions from any other participants, or any last thoughts? from
Can I
anybody?
just-
Yes, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Lisa Marie Ruiz, and I want to encourage all this. Oh, I want to thank you all first of all, and Dr. Carrasco, thank you for putting this together. Dr. Marion, thank you. She has been such a mentor to me, and I just wanted to say thank you and let all the students know that they really are in your corner. All back to school the second time, I've reached out to all professors, all my resources, and everyone is glad to help every student in any way they can. So I really encourage you to do that. I'm graduating from Ventura College in May. I get accepted to Channel Islands. So Dr. Centeno, I'm going to be a Chicano Studies major and pre-law. I completed Dr. Carrasco's Pathway to Law School program. So I look forward to touching bases with you, Dr. Centeno, and thank you to everybody. And good luck to all the students on here. You can make it. Si se puede.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Congratulations, congratulations. That was excellent. Any other questions or comments before we leave? This is a really, really good, again, this was, again, literally, I wanted to change the narrative from the quote unquote dominant culture and just let people know that Chicano studies is thriving and we're doing really, really good work. And again, you know, we're living in unbelievable times, but we've gone through other pandemics, 1521, right? And so we just get vaccinated, man, and be safe. God bless. And again, get those emails down from Cal State Northridge, San Jose State, UCSB, Cal State Channel Islands, and Santa Barbara City College also. Professor Gandara's on the line. We're doing some really, really great work, and we are changing lives in the name of Chicano studies. So que viva la raza, and welcome to Oxnard. No, I'm joking. But we're very proud of being from Oxnard, right? Taco de Mexico, $8 for a meal. But all right, y'all, take care. God bless, and good luck to all the students and everybody that helped out. Thank you. See you later.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Gabriel, good job.
Everybody.
Nicolas. Thank you, Adrian, for coming. Josh.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, Pablo.
Bye. Thank you.
All right. Good luck.